country, the significant role played by entrepreneurs, social innovators in advancement of economic development in any country cannot be overemphasized. Despite the challenging business climate across the continent, entrepreneurs, especially players in the micro, small and medium scale enterprises, are faced with, they remain the highest job providers and improve government's revenue base through taxation and, of course, other levies. Well, let's understand this more, because the fiscal and monetary authorities have been urged to give more attention to the sector by providing an enabling business environment and review the policies hampering growth. To discuss this more, I'm being joined live by the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Ashoka, as Mr. Bill Drayton. Thank you so much, Mr. Drayton, and it's good to see you.
It's a real pleasure to be with you.
Yes, there is so much for us to talk about, to cover on the course of this conversation. But let's please begin this discussion with hearing about some of your early change-making experiences and how they shaped you as an entrepreneur and created Ashoka, which is now the world's largest network of social entrepreneurs.
Well, let me first introduce social entrepreneurs. We need fundamental change in education and environment every bit as much as in steel and transportation. That's what social entrepreneurs do. So Ashoka has 4,000 of the world's most powerful social entrepreneurs worldwide. It was a survey done by universities last year. 3/4 have changed national and or international policy within 5 years. And of course, we're much more powerful together. So now let me get personal, as you suggest. So in elementary school, I started a newspaper. And that meant I had to go and get ads and get kids in other schools to write and sell. I later understood that this took the principal of my school and my parents hiding their nervousness and being supportive. And that was an incredible gift, because I learned that I could change things. And I've started multiple things since then, but that was really the most critical moment. And everyone who's with us today can help a young person they care about have that experience. Help her have her dream, build her team, and change her world. And if we all do that, Nigeria, all of us in the world, will be in good shape in a world defined by change. But you have to have that ability.
Interesting stuff. Now, since Ashoka has created such a huge impact across the globe in the last 40 plus years, while I was thinking about this conversation, I was looking forward to learn from you on what critical role you think networks like this can bring together social entrepreneurs, leaders, influencers across various continents, bringing new ideas and insights to the world.
Well, as I mentioned, a community of people who are committed to the good and are really good at causing change. That's our community, has a wonderful set of special powers. We can read, we can see history in real time and come up with the big solutions, and then figure out how-tos to make them work. And right now, it's very clear, everyone here in this conversation knows that the rate of change is going up. But it's a fact that over the last 300 plus years, it's been going up at more or less an exponential rate. And so has the extent and degree of interconnection. And it's those two forces, each feeding the other, that is driving everyone's reality, every person, every organization. So there's a sad other fact, and that is that the demand for repetition is in a death dive. One curve goes up, the other is forced down. And people who don't have the ability to contribute to change are in really, really big trouble. Companies, other organizations that don't see this fundamental strategic change, they're in trouble. So, how do we deal with this? Well, for example, we have 1,300 Ashoka Fellows focused primarily on kids, and 89% of them put kids in charge. Well, that is exactly what an everything-changing world needs. Every young person must learn how to be a change maker, and the only way you do that is doing it. So we understand the solutions for how you've got to organize a fluid, open, integrated team of teams. Doesn't matter the type of organization. You have to do that to be able to play in this game as an organization. And again, if there's a group of people, the people who are here with us, this is a group that can change organizations and help the people around you you care about of all ages make this transition.
Great stuff. I know you talk about the new inequality. You always talk about that, which is getting more and more wide with each day passing by. Now, can you please elaborate more about the historic moment we are living and the new inequality which we all need to be paying more close attention to as a society?
Well, we all know, sadly, that over the last 8 or so years, all across the world, we have become divided, one against the other. And it's the new inequality that's causing that. And what is this new inequality? Probably 2/3 of the world's people have successfully learned enough of the change skills to be able to be in this new society. And they're doing very well. If you know how to be a change maker, there is infinite demand for you. That's the war for talent. If you don't have those abilities, the demand is disappearing overnight really fast. And in professional jobs, every bit as much as the more physical jobs. Let me give you some statistics from the US. In 2000, the economic output per capita between the parts of the country that are high change making and those that have very little change making was roughly equal. It was about 4 or 5% more in the change making areas. 20 years later, it was 71 to 29. One curve going up, the other in a death dive. Now, this has real consequences. If you are part of the world that doesn't have these abilities, you're falling further and further behind every day. This makes this new inequality worse than the old ones. The people in the game are helping one another get better and better at it because it's a team of teams activity. That's what you do in teams. You need everyone to be really good. So we're getting better and better, and other people are being crushed. And that is cruel and unethical. So here's another statistic. The non-change-making parts of America have lost 4 years of life expectancy in one generation. Lost 4 years of life expectancy. If your life has failed and you're surrounded by other people in that same condition, what do? Well, you blame yourself in part. So smoking, bad food, drugs, just plain despair. The other thing you do psychologically is you want to blame someone else. And that's what brings the demagogues from the Philippines to Poland, Brazil to America. And this is not a problem of one country or some peculiarity. It's a global phenomenon because we've reached the point, the turning point where the old economy, the old society is dying very fast. And the new one is taking off very fast. So if we are going to stop this division, which is making it impossible to solve problems like climate, we have to make sure that every single person has the ability to give. That's what brings health, happiness, and longevity in life. All the prophets told us that. Our grandmother told us this. The scientists, they're all right. A human being who can't contribute is a miserably unhappy person. We have a right to be able to give, but now we're denying that to so many people. It's just terrible. And again, everyone here can help. It's very easy to help someone get this ability. They want it. We know how to make that happen. Let's do it.
Let's move on quickly. Now, being a business journalist, I'm curious to hear your thoughts and ideas on how do you feel businesses need to transition their strategy to be successful and, of course, thriving in an everyone change-maker economy. What decisions business leaders do you think will be visualizing and taking immediately to be ahead in this new game?
Well, you've got it right. Anyone who misses a giant turning point like this is in big trouble. And those who see it and move first are going to get a once-in-a-lifetime competitive opportunity to give. So, one, do you really think your organization is going to succeed unless the people in it are change makers? That doesn't work anymore. And to build an organization of change makers and one that can connect with the other parts of this new reality, you have to be a fluid, open, integrated, purposive team of teams of teams. That's where much of the world already is. You can't afford not to be there now. Second, strategy. The reality is really different. And the companies who see that and can figure out, okay, I serve this part of the world. That's who my clients are, my customers. What do they need to make this transition? And if you help them make that transition, you will have their loyalty and you will gain a lot of market share. Let me give you an example. We talked about how important it is for kids to have a very different measure of success in growing up. What proportion of teenagers know that they're a change maker? And you can't know if you haven't done it. Your dream, your team, your changed world. Well, Santillana is the world's largest Spanish and Portuguese education publisher. They saw this. They're one of our partners in Brazil, and now in the Spanish-speaking world as well. And they said, we can't wait and have someone else take our market. We are going to move. And they did, and they've developed new materials, very different, for 6 to 12-year-olds and for high school students, approved by the government, selling very well. Now, Lantern Books, right here in Nigeria, they see the same thing and they're moving. So let me now turn to you as a publisher and dealing with the business community. If you help your followers, your friends, those of us who are with here today, figure out how to go about having everyone on their team be change makers. Just think about the interesting conversations that are involved there, the problem solving. Well, also, you can help them see the new strategies that they've got to come up with. Even this is really, really interesting. And you will be not bringing people news they can use, but news they have to have. That's a really good strategy for you and for every other publisher.
Wow. Great stuff. Now, as we wrap up, now I'd like you to tell us about the because we understand later this week, you'll be selecting its first ever Ashoka Young Changemakers in Africa, beginning Nigeria. Tell us more about this. And of course, wrapping up finally, what will be the next step your team will be taking over the coming months? Let's wrap up on that note.
So this week, Nigeria is electing the first Ashoka Young Changemakers. And we're selecting them as carefully as we do Ashoka Fellows. These are people who have had a dream, built a team, changed their world. And they are critical for this transition. Who else is in a better position to help schools and youth programs and communities of faith programs for youth change? Who's in a better position to help education schools figure out how to change what they do? And much more. Let me give you an example. Sarah Toomey, from Tunisia, when she was growing up, she saw, when she was 11, she saw that the 12 and 13-year-old girls were being pulled out of school because it was unsafe for them to walk to school. And so she said, this is terrible. Why don't we have a bus? Well, it took her 2 years. She got the bus. And she was an Ashoka predecessor of this Ashoka Young Changemaker program. Later, she became a fellow in climate change adjustment to North Africa, and hundreds of thousands of acacia trees, farmers 60% more income. And now she's an advisor to President Macron. I could give you many more of these stories, but they're very powerful. You should have them here. They're very articulate too, and fun. So what do we have to do now? Well, we're building a community of major organizations in Nigeria as our core partners. And together, we will try very hard and succeed in helping the country, and the country as a model for Africa, and one of the three leading countries in the world, Nigeria, Brazil, and Indonesia, lead this movement. So the National Open University, I've mentioned Mandarin Books, and you. And I'm now addressing everyone who's with us. You have to move to help your organization, whatever it is, make the transition. Communities of faith, every bit as much as businesses. And anyone you care about. All of us have to learn to be better at this new game, and we can help one another, but we especially have to help people who are on the wrong side of the new inequality, who aren't in the game, don't have the abilities. First of all, every young person has to have that. But then let's help older people also. No more of this, you're in decline. Challenge older people to be a giver. That's what will make them healthy and happy. And that's what will bring you the greatest satisfaction.
All right, there. It's a way to live it. I've been speaking to Mr. Bill Drayton there, who's the CEO and founder of Ashoka. Thank you so much for an insight into roles of course, social innovators and entrepreneurs across the continent, and even putting us in tune with what's going to be happening very recently about your selection and all of that. Well, coming up.